Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayuame Sale. Hello. I have with me Oti Elo, behaving like Sholaya this night. And Mercy, how are you ladies?
We're very well.
Oti, what happened? As in, you need to look at your face. I was still in doubt. Is she the real mother of Sholaya? But tonight, after tonight, no. I'm not in doubt anymore. How are you? What happened? You look like they dragged you out of the bed.
This is what you look like when work has dealt
with you. Wow.
It's that kind of
You need
day.
to take a picture.
Yeah. If I could literally go, let's take a break, we'll be right back and just catch a nap.
Wow. Wow.
But I'll figure it out. We'll get through the next 50 minutes and then
right.
I can pass out.
Right. You just look like... It's one of those days.
It's so
I had my own episode over the weekend. I didn't talk to nobody. I was home by myself. Like, I didn't want to talk to nobody.
It
was that bad.
Yeah.
My mom, I had to send her a message that I will not be available until Monday. I'm not in a good headspace right now. I just need to be by myself, think through a lot of things. Yeah, ease of doing business. That's what we're talking about today. Mercy, how are you?
Very well. I mean, I'm just, at this point, everybody, looks for the mechanism, to just cope and survive and, just have a different approach to life, basically. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, if you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channels at Official Upgrade TV, come on, subscribe, share the link, right? Actually, share it to your diasporan people. Those are the people that always watch YouTube. All right, so tonight we want to have a conversation around ease of doing business, as I'd mentioned earlier. And here's what we found as today's quote. Whenever you see a successful business, someone once made a courageous decision. This was from Peter F. Drucker, the management consultant, educator, and author. As you already know, it's our ladies' night out. We're having that conversation around ease of doing business. And when we open our phone lines, we'd really love to hear your thoughts on how you are coping, especially if you're a business person, right? How are you coping in this economy right now? How easy is it for you to transact business, especially with the current economic climes? I speak English, I don't understand. I'll see you after the break. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. National Wildland Firefighters Day is observed annually to honor and recognize the brave men and women who risk their lives to protect forest, wildlife, and communities from wildfires. These firefighters demonstrate extraordinary courage, skill, and dedication in combating some of nature's most devastating forces. July 2nd honors the dedicated personnel who coordinate their efforts to protect the nation's wildlands. It's also a day to remember the sacrifices made by each of these firefighters and the step in combating wildfires. The theme for 2024 is focused on resilience and preparedness. What's the famous country that has wildfires?
Besides the US, it's the US.
The US. The states, sorry.
Oh, I think it's Arizona and sort of California as well. I mean, they have their seasons, and there's a TV show, I forget the name now, that is all about, the firefighters who fight wildfires. And I mean, when you watch the show, it just shows you the level of technicality, that is fire. You just light a match or you burn something and you just see it, you just take it for granted. But watching that show, you realize that there's a whole science and thought process behind managing wildfire. So they have this concept they call cutting the line, where you have to starve the fire. So you let the fire burn, but there's no point trying to sort of pour water on the fire, because at the pace that it's going, you can't subdue it with water. Yeah. So what they do is that they're fighting with water, they're watching the wind. And then they have people sort of yards away cutting grass and cutting the bush so that the fire gets to a point where there's now nothing to burn and it stops. But I mean, for me, watching that show, the way the fire spreads, where, we often think about fire, like the actual fire, but just those little cinders, sets off a forest. And 1 minute, firefighters are all facing this direction, fighting fire, and the wind blows, and next thing they're surrounded by fire and they're behind. And I mean, it's just an amazing thing to watch, that people would do that job and put themselves in that.
And it's a huge risk. And whilst this is happening, don't forget that the wildlife preservers are also there, trying to help the animals to stay alive, capture them.
Nigeria just left the chat.
It's a whole network, huh?
Nigeria has left the chat room. Forget it, because I mean, really, just to even see. I remember there was one episode I watched where the level of equipment these guys had. They even had like a fire. When you hear fire blanket, this one was like almost foil tent type thing, and they covered themselves and allowed the fire to burn over them. And I thought to myself, we never even put house fire.
Not something like my grandmother. We never even fit.
Church way born. They take their time to offer.
Dear.
Now you say you want to go come back. This fire not be joke.
It reminds me. So the thing is, today I think I mentioned the fact that Hollywood and these countries have actually made us live in a very delusional world, and sometimes we forget our current reality. So once upon a time, it's away from that. I just said that Nigeria left the chart because as you were talking, I was just envisaging, looking at painting Nigeria in the picture, like trying to, think where we fit in. But I know that we have. So I remember one time, I'll just share this one quickly. So I remember one time where that was my very first time to experience a robbery incident. So armed robbers actually attacked our house, and God helped me. God was with me. That's when I know that God, I don't know what you believe in, but I believe that God was with me. Because the robbers came, I was at the brick, I was up, and I would have been 10 minutes as I got into the room and locked the room. Usually I don't lock my room, was when the robbers broke in. They were already in. I heard everything, right? So when the robbers left, long and short of the story, the police came hours after, or a few minutes after. So everybody was calling the police, Mom was calling the police, everybody was just challenging, calling everybody that So we now started having different squads of police coming in. So when the police now came in, I was like, okay, are you guys going to come in? Like it's a crime scene. They broke the doors, there were bullets on the door. So in my mind, I'm like, there's going to be a crime scene. Like, you guys are going to come in, right? They say, no.
You watch too much CSI.
They said, T, don't go. Wait, like, wow.
It is where.
I mean,
a country that cannot clear gutter, you are expecting them to come into your house. It's all right.
Yeah, to come barricade.
They'll barricade.
That's a robbery. That's why she said Nigeria has left the chat, because this one is fire. They leave and make it burn.
Not be bush. Who dare say bush? Oh my God! Let's take your story, Uti.
Okay, so my story is, my headline actually reads. This is from the governor of the CBN, Cardoso. It says, rising volume of non-bank transactions threatens financial stability in West Africa. The CBN governor has raised his concerns about the growing transaction volumes of non-bank financial institutions and other financial institutions, so these are NBFIs and OFIs, and saying that they pose a significant risk to financial stability. Now, for those who are wondering what non-bank financial institutions are, these are financial institutions or companies or organizations that offer financial services but don't hold banking licenses and therefore cannot accept deposits. So all your various
microfinance banks,
not even microfinance banks, your fintechs, they've all got different. So most of the fintechs we have now, they usually go and get what's it called now? They go and get microfinance licenses, right? Yeah. And they become MFBs. But you also have, lots of other companies that, particularly all these loan shark companies that you, as well. Yes, and loan shark companies that people that will be sending messages, this person has died, we are looking for, all of those things. The reason why this story caught my attention is obviously this is my industry, and these companies have been slicing and dicing the market, but what it showed me was the fact that there were customer needs out there that were not being met by the current financial institutions, conventional commercial financial institutions, right? Whether it be from a perspective of documentation, whatever the case may be, right? It wasn't easy for them to bank in the formal banking sector. and these people have now, these organizations, you know, have capitalized on that. But for me to hear the CBN governor say this, it was interesting because I thought it means now that the CBN needs to play catch up. You're going to have to regulate these people because the story mentions crypto, mentions, you know, lots of other things. So the world of finance and the child that they're birthing with their marriage with tech is not, it doesn't have time to wait for CBN to catch up, right? So it literally means that you're needing to get ahead of the curve to bring that stability, to bring that sort of, what's the word now? That regulator function, right, into that space. Because, I mean, look at those loan sharks. I mean, it has greatly improved. But at one point, every other day, you're getting a message on your phone saying they're looking for this person, this person is missing. This is missing. Do you get what I mean? So we are 200 million plus people. Clearly, we all have banking needs. No, let me not say that. We all have financial needs, right?
Financial services needs.
Yes, so whether I'm getting it from a conventional commercial bank or I'm going to find somebody who can do business the way that I can, you know, do business with, it's just a huge train.
I think it's an opportunity for people in the finance space to also look at it. Messi, let's hear your story quickly.
All right. So my story is centered around the recent report by INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu on the elections in Edo State and the Beavers machine. However, the chairman of INEC, during the opening of a 2-day induction retreat for resident electoral commissioners in Lagos, that happened yesterday, said that although we had an unfortunate flooding in our office in Edo State, over 4,000 machines were affected. But we deployed our technical staff and we have already recovered 3,500 machines, and he stated that the remaining machines in the affected, state might not suffice for the upcoming election, hinting at, the need for national support from neighboring states. This is, when I saw this story, I mean, if you look at my script, if you can peep, I don't know when I wrote this script, while I was writing it, I left the emoji of laughter. I laughed and laughed. So it felt like I really don't know what's wrong with me. But when I even read it, I'm like, why are you doing this? So it's so funny, right? But it's very sad. And so we think that, every election, every time we have, another election cycle, we think that INEC would actually improve on, the previous mishap and what have you.
Can I swallow my opinion?
Yeah, you can swallow your opinion because, to be very honest, it's very saddening that we spend so much. There's so much that we have literally spent on the Beavers machine, to acquire that property. And out of the 36 states, including the FCT, the flood was very deliberate, to go to Edo State, where the elections will be happening on the 21st of September, if I'm not mistaken. And it went directly, the flood actually went... The flood went, directly...
When she said the story, I was in the news, I said, how convenient. Because I don't even understand.
The flood went directly to...
You said you wanted... the people that have been doing elections for hundreds of years, they are still using paper. You people said you wanted technology.
You wanted technology.
So it's no longer, termites, it's no longer fire, it's no longer they are running with
it is how precise
it is the flood
is.
The
precision with the flood.
So the
flood left everywhere, and in the entire state, he couldn't visit the governor's office or Basiki's office. He couldn't go anywhere. He went straight to
Beavers.
To the Beavers where the INEC kept those stuff. It is. What am I implying?
No, please.
No, I am saying that.
Swallow. It's okay. Let me talk my own. But we don't have time. Our Honorable Minister, Wike. So Wike has said, if you don't say they born you well, you get power. Come back for 2027. So let me read what the headline, I think it was Premium Times that took that story. And I felt, I had an interview with Dele Farotimi, and he said that, in his opinion, he feels like the campaigns have not stopped. And that's the truth about it. I don't think campaigns have stopped. Like, literally, we've left elections and everything, but there's still campaign ongoing. So he says, I challenge that legislator. If you are very popular in 2027, come and run under Abuja. We will fail you. Do you think that what happened the last time will ever happen again? It will not happen again. Now, this was said to the FCT minister in Kibe. She is a Labour Party member. She was complaining that she was being sidelined. I think she went on a TV channel or on an interview, and she said she was being sidelined. But you see, what really just ticked me off, the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmoud, and my humble self have not been in office for more than 11 months. And the person is angry that people are praising us. He said, if you don't want or you are angry about that, go and hang yourself in a transformer. How can our ministers be talking like this? But then again, there was a denim jacket that trended.
No, I think it was within that same space that
I'm saying that. So when you see a minister dressed in a denim jacket, what do you expect? Let me not say the one that they will carry me to Abuja. I end my case. But I think that this is a very subtle threat. This is clearly telling her that do not think of running for office in 2027. Don't think that, okay, because the 2023 elections, people came out en masse and voted and all that, you think the same thing would happen again. So that statement carries a lot of weight for me because it tells me that even before the elections, right, there's already some level of, would I call it fear or whatever that is already being instigated. I don't know what to make of it, but that's a very weighty statement to make. And I think it's a very careless statement to make.
No,
it is.
I mean, if you just allow me to weigh in on it, it's also very derogatory that, you make such comments.
I don't even think it's derogatory. It is actually very heavy. It's a very heavy statement. You understand?
It also speaks to the fact that, we've, like we always say, that we've succeeded in raising strong men rather than strong institutions, because it also speaks to the election. I mean, I saw comments and thoughts and the opinions that are being formed. These are things that make people form opinions. And people are already saying, he's already telling you Nigerians or every other person that cares to listen that we literally don't have elections.
You don't have a say. That's what they're saying. That
for you to say that. And when did this actually happen? Honestly, it's so unfortunate.
Because don't forget that it is the people that voted her in. So for you to make a statement like that with so much confidence, right? What you're saying is that whether you people like it or not, it is what we say that will happen in 2027. I mean, that's a very weighty statement to make, jokes apart. But we take a break. I'm not in the FCT. I'm right here in Lagos. We'll be right back. Let's talk about ease of doing business, the one that concerns us. Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking.
It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future,
yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Thanks for staying with us. Nigeria is ranked 131 among 190 economies in the ease of doing business, according to the latest World Bank annual ratings. Now, the rank of Nigeria improved to 131 in 2019 from 146 in 2018. Doing business in Nigeria is like a platform where ambition meets bureaucracy and challenges abound. From the corridors of power to the boardrooms to loans to challenges, today we will, explore the realities faced by entrepreneurs, businessmen, and investors, bottom to top. So we're talking ease of doing business. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also call our phone line. The number to call is 07025 007749. That's the number to call. All right, so Uti, Elu, and Messi of life. So I think this conversation is coming off of the back of your daddy that you've been following. Yes. We had to kind of like set a foundation for it, because I think all over the news last week, Dangote was just everywhere talking about everything. And even today, you know, there's a report that came out from Daily Trust where he was saying that because CBN is alleged as CBN, I don't know if it is confirmed, but it's breaking news, right? That CBN is going to increase interest rate to 30%. Right, and Dangote is saying that he's criticized this hike of interest rate, and he's saying that this is very, very, is going to be chaotic. And he was speaking at the banquet hall of the State House, Abuja, during the opening session of the 3-day summit organized by Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. He said that the present interest rate regime, it will be difficult with this present interest rate regime. It will be difficult to create jobs. And there was something he said. He also called on the government to protect existing businesses in the country, especially manufacturers, by providing an enabling environment for them to thrive. Now, according to him, we must look to leading countries in West and the East who are actively protecting their domestic industries. Of course, he said that dependence on importation is poverty, right? He says African richest man further likened an import dependence to poverty importation. He says import dependence is equivalent to importing poverty and exporting jobs. No power, no growth, no prosperity. Similarly, no affordable financing, no growth, no prosperity. There is no industrialization without protection. Ignoring this fact is what gives rise to insecurity, banditry, kidnapping, and abject poverty. I mean, this, if you've not seen this story, it's a breaking news on Daily Trust, and I think people should go and read it. So when this just broke this evening, so it just further cemented the conversation we've been talking about. I mean, you've been following up with stories about how the IOCs are not giving him crude. Okay, we've been complaining that we're having an economy where we have to import everything. Somebody took out time to build a whole refinery, right? And all of a sudden, it is the raw material. So it's like, is it that you didn't do your feasibility studies? You know, because so I just think like in Nigeria, right, the policies are just against the businesses to work. So for you to survive as a business, right, you have to do extra. That's how I feel. Like you have to do a lot of things to survive. It's either you're in the good books of the government, or you are inside the coffee, you're in some corners, you know, or you have some certain, you know, what's it called? People that are godfathers in your business, so that protects your business. But if you say that we have a playing field for people to play on in the business terrain in Nigeria, I don't think so. But let me hear your thoughts, because you have gone through ease of doing business. I mean, they say that document is so beautiful on paper. But we've said it several times. It's not about having a great policy. It is the implementation and how it's impacting the people that actually it matters to. So let me hear your thoughts on ease of doing business in Nigeria. What are your thoughts?
You know, when I saw the topic today, my mind went back to the last time I was on, well, not this set, our old set, talking about ease of doing business. And if you remember, we had someone from was Pebek.
Yes, Pebek, yes.
At the time. And I remember listening to him then. And, you know, that was a heated conversation where, you know, we disagreed about a lot of the things that they were saying they had done. This was, of course, under the former the former administration where yes, the vice president was essentially running that. It doesn't seem, let me put it that way, like we've made a lot of progress, right? We often joke that doing business in Nigeria is an extreme sport, but the truth is Nigeria also in reality is, the opportunities are vast, they're numerous, from just the perspective of our demography, our numbers, the average age of our population. So when it comes to all the ingredients to cook the soup are present on the table, you know, the ingredients are complete. Now, it now comes down to how you start to slice the onion, or whether you choose to, you know, grate the pepper, chop the pepper, boil the meat, fry the meat. That's where the problem then goes wrong, right? So today, I mean, we've come away from the days when we're talking about businesses not being registered. You know, we've moved past that. We still have that. We still have the micro industries, but we have a decent. Let me use that classification. We have a decent small medium enterprise sort of sector, and a lot of work is happening there, and they are doing a lot in terms of driving the economy. Then when you move further up the scale to sort of the large businesses, the Dangotes, right, there is a lot that is happening. But when you layer that on top of our current economic situation, that's where you've essentially taken a match to petrol, and now everybody's crying. I mean, the reason why the Dangote story caught my attention is because for the longest time, people always said he was favored of the government. He had all the necessary connections. He knew everybody. He was getting, they were, you know, alleged getting access to Forex at bank rates, to official window, all of those things. But here we are. If Dangote is crying,
who are mad?
What then is the plight of the average entrepreneur who is simply trying to survive, simply trying to pay the salaries of the staff that work for them, to put food on their plate, to run their business? I mean, if you think about everything that has happened, right? If you look around Parallax today and you think about how much you spend on equipment, spend on petrol or diesel every day, is tough.
My dear,
then if you mistakenly then had taken a loan, wow, because I mean, he's talking about, I mean, the MPR was raised, and as we, in fact, it was like we had just come off the back of one raise, and then it was raised again. And what it means today is that if you have a high risk profile, some people are paying, this 30% is talking about, some people are paying 50. Yeah. So right now, you can't advise anybody in business to take a loan for asset financing, long-term financing. Which business are you going to do that you are going to be able to not only repay 50% in interest, but still have profit left?
My God.
So, I mean, when I hear it, in my mind, I'm like, wow. How are you doing it? Yeah.
Uti, don't let me go there. I said I locked myself for 2 days. You don't know why I locked myself for 2 days. If you had left me, I would have been in my house for the whole week. I don't even want to come out, because when you think about all the things that are happening, right, it's a huge struggle for businesses. I don't know how I have gotten to this level, how I've gone by, right? And it's not like the income is coming, the inflow. So sometimes, right, I just get so upset. Actually, you know, like yesterday, I really went off because we can't be complaining about certain things, right? And here am I trying to struggle and wrap my head around how do I make sure that I meet up with the income to be able to pay salaries and all of that. And somebody within the company is having brain touch, you know. So it has to, everybody needs to understand, you know, that this is we're actually in tough times. We're not having it. It's not easy for anybody. So yes, they might have some of these things on paper. Whilst other economies are looking for ways to give out loans on single digits, you are thinking of increasing, what's it called, interest rate. What exactly are we looking at? You are complaining that we are a country that we consume a lot, right? I would think that a decent thing to do would be that these manufacturers and the people that are helping us to convert raw materials into finished goods should have priority. You understand? So if you have to take off the entire, what's it called, import duties or whatever it is, just to make sure that these things come at a cheaper rate for them to be able to run the business. It's not even, this time around, we're not even talking profit. Because I heard over the radio yesterday that the president had actually taken off import duties on pharmaceuticals, right? Entire pharmaceuticals. So we're hoping that maybe by the next 1 month, things will regulate in that industry and drugs, the prices of drugs will come down. But it's the same thing with manufacturing, right? So let me hear your thoughts, Mercy, on ease of doing business.
So, first of all, I must, doff my hat for every entrepreneur in Nigeria and everyone who's doing business. It's always very easy for people to tell you to, venture into business, especially in a space like Nigeria. But it is really, really very tough and difficult. And, I empathize and I just only can just imagine, what business owners are going through. So I think that over the years, especially, with the previous government, before this government, there's been a lot of, talks about we literally had gone down in terms of the statistics. We came down to 131 from 145 or 149, whatever it is. And that should not be the focus, because it feels as though our focus and our attention is usually, to get, the ease of doing business. I mean, the ranking, just get it in statistics and all of that. But in reality, that's not what it should be. So the policy is always geared towards stats policy. You call it statistics policy, and that's what we're about. So we try to, bring measures, but we're not looking at, we're not looking at it in a different approach, which would rather be, a liberal policy, or the liberal view or perspective of it. And that would include lowering taxes, the trade barriers in terms of several policies, reducing the cost of importation. I mean, I've already talked about that in terms of lowering trade barriers and what have you. And this would actually be, make the environment very friendly. Now, when we talk about the ease of doing business, it might literally feel as though we're speaking, so much English or jargons right there. It's just how convenient. The question is, how convenient is it for businesses or individuals, organizations to run business in a certain locality in Nigeria? That's basically what this is about. And so when we look at it, you want to look at, the policies of government every day. And prior to this government, we thought that when this government came on board, it would be a different game entirely. But we have seen that, from one policy direction, from pronouncement, because that's what the previous government did. The previous government, which was led by President Muhammadu Buhari, came on board, and then, just one statement actually pushed capital flight. You saw that, people were just exiting, investment were moving away. It's because it's not favorable. Whoever gets into business wants to make profit. And this government came on board again with the first announcement of the removal of subsidy. That already alone began to shape, the economic feeling or environment for our business. And people, you started seeing that we had a lot of divestment, businesses were already leaving. Now, from each policy, you see the policy of multiple taxation or taxing, where you increase in taxes and all of that.
The VATs and all of that.
All of that is contributing to make, the environment very tense. And I think that we're not focusing on the actualities, the real things. We're rather paying attention, to things, just to get the numbers.
When you say actualities, right, what are we even looking at? What are the things that
they're
we
just
should be
basic.
focusing on?
For instance, before any business, you understand that if you're, let's assume that you were not even in Nigeria. Let's assume that you're a country or you're an investor in another country. And don't forget that Africa has a huge potential for, business. Nigeria is the hub of all of that. There's a lot of potential for us. But when you look at the security, first of all, when you begin to hear of the killings, especially if you look at, the northern part of Nigeria right now, you look at Plateau State, you look at Borno, you look at every part of the country, you see the insecurity that's going on, it becomes very, 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 scary. That actually does not allow or, encourages investment trust. I mean, those who have resources to invest will begin to divest. They don't want to come in. They're already discouraged.
They're afraid.
They're afraid to come in. A country where you're not sure of your safety, you're not even sure of the safety of your business. How do you come in? So first of all, because even in the Constitution, there's no how you're going to attain economic, what they call it again, you achieve economic profit without addressing certain issues. So we're just saying that they're just basic things. Provide security, provide infrastructure.
Better infrastructure.
Let's talk about, the power sector, the energy sector. What's the energy sector like? If we fix all of that, because a lot of businesses are dependent on it. So it is not rocket science. It is also not by all of those indices. Yes, we know that they might just be there. But we're saying that even if you just overlook all of those indices, forget whether you're 100 and something, and just do the needful.
It's not, even that ranking is not that great. Do you understand? When you say you're ranked 131. But let's go on a break, right? When we come back from that break, we'll continue the conversation. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking.
It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future, yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, we're having a conversation around ease of doing business in Nigeria. And please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation, send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-8463. You can call our phone line, is 07025007749. How is business over there? So, Innocent Motors. I watched a video. There's this guy that is a YouTuber, Steven Chooks, I think that's his name. So he went around all the Nigerian brands. There's Nord, there's Innocent, and yeah, I think those are the two.
Is Jack a Nigerian brand?
Jack is a Chinese.
Not G-A,
not J-A-C, Jack. Maybe. Well, he went around. He's doing an expose on why, our businesses are not acceptable. Our products are not well received in Nigeria, especially when it comes to automobiles, right? They just had so many cars with dust all over them, and he was asking, are they working? He said, yes, they are working. So why are we not buying those cars? Why do we still have the taste for imported cars and all of those things, right? I've not watched the full video. I just saw clips. But it then brings to mind, right, that, again, for us to be able to grow this economy, right, there has to be some level of patriotism when it comes to the Nigerian brand. You must be vested in the brand to say, you know what, this brand has to succeed. And so, you see, ease of doing business it doesn't just stop at just even the infrastructure and all of those things. It means that if there are opportunities within the economy for us to be able to grow any Nigerian business, right? Because these are the things you see in other climes where you see government physically. Elon Musk will not be Elon Musk without the support of the government. That is just the honest truth. There are a lot of businesses abroad, right, that have a lot of government backing. That's why most of them are doing well, right? So ease of doing business does not just stop at just creating the environment. It also even requires that you actually go there to say, you know what, this business, it has to succeed. So what are the parameters? What are the things that we need to put in place for it to succeed? But we don't see all of these things happening. Messi ruled out security issues and all of those things. The other day, I was watching a report that said that farmers were being killed in their farmlands, right? We've seen so many issues around, Marianne right now, she's in Borno State doing some things around, the insecurity and all of that in that place. These are our realities, right? So for anybody that wants to even come to say, you know what, I still want to invest in this country, right? There has to be something that is attractive enough for them to want to stay. We saw so many companies leaving. Huggies left. Which other company left? Pharmaceutical companies left. Then even Diageo sold a part of their business to Toleram, right? So a lot of businesses are leaving the country, right? And I don't want to believe that it is just because Nigeria is not a profitable place to do business. No. I believe it is this ease of doing business that has caused this sharp decline in investors coming into Nigeria. So if we say we want to solve this problem, right, because let's look towards a solution, what would be a solution? What would we be looking at in terms of how do we solve this problem? How do we start to So if the government, maybe they were not looking, or maybe it was a blind spot for them, what are the things that would make Nigeria an easy place to do business in?
I think the first place for me where I would start is actually brand Nigeria. There's something you said about made in Nigeria products. I remember many years ago when the sort of Buy Nigerian movement started, right? It didn't happen overnight, but there was a conscientious effort, right, to get people to think Buy Nigeria. But I don't think it transcended beyond maybe the fashion industry, that sort of, it was only in certain sectors where Buy Nigerian actually, was able to take root. But today, you don't have confidence that you want to go and buy a Nigeria-made car. I remember at one point when the ride-hailing companies, I don't know which one of them, there was a whole flood of those innocent, small cars. Yes. You don't see any of them on the road anymore. So somebody asked the question around durability. We all know what our roads are like. We all know what drivers on the roads are like. And people ask themselves, what is the longevity of these vehicles, right? You see really, really old, foreign brands still on the road, still moving. But these particular sets of cars, at one point, you couldn't turn to your left, to your right without seeing them. They were white, so you couldn't miss them. Today, I can't remember the last time I saw one of those cars on the road. And these things stick in people's minds, right, when people see these things. So the concept for me of what is the Nigerian brand, because that alone is powerful enough in the mind of the consumer to start to say, I'm seeking out Nigerian brands. There was a time when I give kudos to Nollywood. When the entertainment sector started to prioritize and wear Nigerian brands, it was a sweep. I remember once being on the red carpet and they asked me what I was wearing, and here was me reading out my foreign brand, and the lady looked at me like, this conversation is dead on arrival, lady. We can't really, this is not why we're here. And all of a sudden, these days when we have our big events, you see all the fashion designers, and it's fantastic to see, but that's one industry. If you go to our supermarkets today, I was walking down the cereal aisle, I think over the weekend on Saturday, and I said to myself, this was not how I grew up. I grew up eating Nasco, But when you go to the cereal aisle now, it's flooded with every imported cereal you can think about. And you walk down the aisles of the supermarket, it's flooded with imported things. We take it for granted, but I love that statement that says when we are all importing, let's just accept that we are importing poverty as well. So the idea that we first have to orientate Nigerians to say, you are going to buy Nigerian. Because we have to take a stand somewhere. Now, the second part for me is, in fact, there are two other parts. One, there's investment. You talked about it. We have a PR problem. Again, brand Nigeria. Which company, the one that pained me the most was I forget the name of the parent company now, the one doing the diapers and the female hygiene products. Literally, I remember when they came into this country, it was a big fanfare. We were like, oh, they're building a big factory. It's going to be jobs. They believe in Nigeria because, our demography is made for retail. They've packed up and gone now. Those are people that have believed in Nigeria twice. They've packed up and gone. What does that say to the companies outside of Nigeria, the investors? Is Nigeria still the place to invest? So all of those factors for me, then you now come down to the Nigerian people. The reason why things don't work is the people. Somebody somewhere is profiting from the fact that it doesn't work. Do you remember when we used to have Weber on the show talking about the power sector? It's not going to work. Not because it can't work, because it is not allowed to work, because there are people that are benefiting from it not working.
Absolutely. And speaking to retail sector, right? We are the investors' joy when it comes to the retail sector in Nigeria. But guess what is happening in businesses? Because this one, I even heard it. The chain of the very popular pizza company, right? Right now, because I remember when Manny was on the show, every Friday she used to order pizza for the children. She's always fighting with the delivery company. Why? because they refused to give her, what's it called, an account number that belongs to the company. Always giving excuses that the POS is not working and all, and she always insists, to the point they even blacklisted her that, you know, this one is bad customer. But guess what I heard about the same company? I've heard that the staff within the companies, they've positioned their own POS machines. Right?
That happened
the
at
same
a
thing
leading
even
chain
in
of
the
supermarket
yes,
as
even
well.
the lead chain supermarkets that were big, because you just wake up and you say, oh, they are leaving. Because the big one very close to Shangote said, oh, they were selling up and they were packing shop and they were leaving. Game was a beautiful store that and Game had everything. Like literally, if I wanted to buy any household thing, I didn't need to think twice. I just knew that if I go to Game, I'll find it there. They shut down. Is it that the business was not booming? No. So even right now, within the Nigerian sector, you see this thing that we're talking about, oh, corruption. It's not just within those people. Even as a business owner, right, your staff within the company, right? Because again, we do not have proper, how do I put it now? Would I call it like proper measures that even analyzes the person that you are even employing? You don't even know if at all anything happens, where would you find that person? Right? Some people, you don't even know where they live. I don't know where people live in my office. Like literally, I don't know. So if anything happens, right, you know, there's just so many factors. But you see, where there is identity, where there is, so somebody can identify you and say, this is where you live, this is your home, this is this, this is that. It even helps with the business flow. It helps with a lot of things. So there is just a myriad of problems. Right, that is happening, a lot of problems. So, but Messi, let me come to you, right? If you say you wanted to find a solution in terms of, right, the ease of doing business in Nigeria, what would you be looking at, apart from what you've mentioned around fixing the power sector, fixing, what's it called, infrastructure, and also sorting out security? What else would you be looking at?
So I totally agree with, you know, her thoughts. She talked about consumer education, that people should be, Nigerians should have the taste to consume what is made in Nigeria, the Nigerian, you know, brand, grow Nigerian, buy Nigeria, right? But the grow Nigerian, buy Nigeria cannot happen if you're not seeing some of these made in Nigerian businesses or product, then there must literally be something wrong. I think that, you know, we can't take our government out of the equation, and that's the actual reality. Because whatever it is that we do, government has a hand in it. And it would be that government should begin to encourage, you know, industrial production, local consumption through her policies. It's not just by, you know, saying, oh, yes, they are there, let them thrive. What are you doing? There are supposed to be policies. You know,
your president, former president,
for instance, in terms of access to financing, you know, the loan and interest rate should be easy. People should be able to access all of this. It should be very easy for them. You should be able to encourage, for instance, local production. If you have the rice factory, those who are producing rice farmers, whatever it is, encourage through your policies. You're not supposed to strain them, because when the policies come, provide the infrastructure. There's no other way around it. And then again, government should lead by example. There's no reason why we see that the government of this country is purchasing vehicles and cars. And how many of them are riding the innocent motors? We're not saying that start to finish is from Nigeria. At least to some extent, it's partly a Nigerian.
There's not.
Whatever.
There are other
but
options.
we're just saying, why is it that we're not patriotic? So if we're saying that, you know, we should consume the Nigerian product, then the government itself should lead by example.
Your minister bought a jacket of $2,500.
No.
Do you know what that would have done to a Nigerian economy brand?
So I'm saying that let's be very patriotic. And that's why I like countries like
$2,500.
He will never pay.
And you guess what they will price? They will price you low. They will price you 2,000. As if they want to buy 2,000. They are buying crayfish.
They'll buy you 2,000 naira, not dollars. Oh.
No, of course, that's what I'm saying now.
What he spent was $2,500.
Or you find out people telling you that you should wear, so that are you not happy that the governor is wearing your clothes?
Let me give you publicity.
You know. So for me, you asked me a question and I'm answering you. Number one is that the government has to know that we can't leave them out of the equation. For the country to move forward, you know, for us to have a conducive environment for local and foreign investment, then policies must be very friendly. And there are liberal policies. Those liberal policies will include deregulation, you understand, breaking trade barriers, what have you, just reducing taxes. Not the multiple taxation that we're having. We're paying from our nose and our eyes, and you don't tax poverty. I borrowed the words of, who said that again? I don't remember, but you can't tax, we should be taxing prosperity, not poverty. Again, government needs to lead by example. You see,
I like that part.
Why can't we borrow? Is it that we don't see what other countries are doing? Must we experience the situation?
I actually like that part.
For instance, you see what China is doing. They operate a closed economy. You think it's a joke? You can't even watch anything. Recently, I saw a news that North Korea, sentenced some boy to death. I mean, I think it's very harsh and brash. One would think that there should be a lighter punishment. But he was sentenced to death for what? Watching, the K-pop or something, what they call it, movies. So they have made it a law that you can't consume anything that is not your country's, whether it's music, whether it's, entertainment, whether it's product. Yeah. We have to be very intentional. Like you always say, we have to be deliberate. And government needs to lead by example. Absolutely. You cannot be telling us to be doing like this. You're not encouraging local consumption. Let us bring down our whatever. If we are saying that the country, we're not producing standard quality, can we be producing? Why do people even import stew? Have you heard that we import stew? People import stew to this country. Why?
There's no tomato.
Please.
There's no tomato. They have to import stew. But I was just going to say,
I've seen people cooking stew on social media with carrots, with cucumber,
with watermelon.
And crocs. Have you seen the crocs cooking? That's the
so I was just going to say, to speak to what Uti said. In all honesty, right, I actually miss my Nasco cornflakes. There was the chain of biscuits. That Nasco biscuit.
Nasco biscuit.
I was a fan now. Biscuits. You know when they chop on
Nasco
biscuits. I said we tip my mama money. She dey hear? We tip my mama money to go, because every December, like we used to Target, we go buy biscuits. That nice biscuit. You know the one that had the sugar sprinkle on it. It was such a, and that company, and I think they still exist. So why are we not flooding our supermarkets with those kind of products? And the way to really go with, like you rightly said, because truth be told, we have to lock our borders for anything, you understand, like consumables, until we need to get used to our we need to clean it well. But Buhari did that same thing. We condemned it.
I was going to say that, the problem first and foremost is the supermarkets will sell what the consumer wants to buy. Because if I walk in here and I can't find it here, I'll walk out and go somewhere else.
And that's why you have a point in the consumer education about our products.
So you go somewhere else. Now, this thing is like a vicious cycle, because there is the quality of the made in Nigeria product that you also have to get to a certain standard. I have Nasco cornflakes in my house today. My child will not eat it. Every day I go into the kitchen and I'm shouting, why is this cornflake still here? And my nanny goes, Mommy, you know like them. And I'm like, what is going on? So the truth of it is, it's such a vicious cycle, because what is produced locally, like you said, the taste buds have moved beyond that. So you now have to get, that's why I said it was easy for industries like fashion, because we all now,
economy will help
shifted.
You retwist the taste buds.
We've shifted.
Have you seen the price of imported goods right now?
I said, look, I'm telling you, in my house now, acha has become breakfast. It's breakfast, right? So you find a way, but the totality of it, right, is the factors are a lot. So on the government side, on the people's side, even when you talk about the value chain, today we don't have tomatoes, but guess what? When tomatoes was in season, we were throwing it away in the droves. Why? Because we didn't have processing. In fact, today somebody told me that, do you know you can buy dried tomatoes from the north? I said, wow, please, can you hook me up? Because at this point, I don't know how long this season is. The person that tracks my tomatoes for me, she's been telling me, ma, the Yoruba tomatoes are still coming. We're still waiting. So we're almost counting tomatoes in my house now, so that we will not cook stew with watermelon.
That got me. But you see, I mean, like you said, it's a lot of issues. But at the end of the day, I feel like if there's a will, there's a way. If those who are calling the shots of this country, I mean, those who are the drivers of this economy, sit back and say, we want to make it work. It has never, I don't think that we've been very passionate and honest to make this country work. It is not difficult. Several countries have achieved it. They have moved from poverty to prosperity. China is a typical example. And that's not rocket science. And other countries, you can see them. I will always say that. But you see, if we understand that the quality, you haven't actually met the quality and all of that, it would also be, there's a lot of work from the part of government. Government has a role to play. So when you actually provide the necessary things, because now how are businesses running without power? Look at the cost of running it. How do you even explain that? And at the end of the day, consumers also have the right to choose, what they want to eat and what they don't want to eat. But we're saying that
we should adopt
there are
that
certain
system.
rights we need to start to garnish.
That's where the government actually comes in. But before the government comes in on that, they have to lead by example. And that's what it is.
No, that living by example, government,
they have to lead by example. If all of us, tired. Do you know that if we all wake up and say in this country, if there's a legislation that says that let's ban the use of generator, we'll have light in this country. But not see anybody.
It cannot happen.
No, I am just saying.
You know that because
I am saying that.
But you need to understand the dynamics.
Did you hear what I said?
The power sector right now is not working intentionally because somebody is profiting from the importation of.
Did you hear what I said?
I heard you now.
Because if the person who is going to make the legislation, not you and I. So if anybody wakes up and they say nobody should use, including Aso Rock. You think if Aso Rock is not using, the president sleeps one night and mosquito is flying in his ear, or the governor is sleeping and there's no light, you think that this power sector, this country will not work? It's because we all have access to buy. These people have means that we import generator, and some people are profiting from it.
All the necessary parties will protest.
They will protest. But in final terms,
I don't understand. I feel like that's a joke.
So do you think?
I feel like you guys are joking.
Do you think Nigeria is an easy place to do business?
No. Please.
It is not
an
easy place to do business at the moment, but the opportunities still exist.
Absolutely. I think I agree with
Capital
you.
now.
Capital no.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we are begging edge of government. Help our life.
But did I say no?
No. Huh? There's
no. No and yes.
I don't know.
No,
I'm feeling it.
It's not easy, but the opportunities are still there.
There are opportunities in Nigeria, in all honesty. In fact, when you talk about ease of doing business, like for instance, if you really want to solve food problem, call people, give them free expanse of land. Just go and tell them, give them free seedlings. Give them.
That's a lot of things you just said there.
So yeah, that's it. Good evening, my dear beautiful sisters. Ease of doing business. This is a very important and interesting topic. My dear beautiful sister Uti made mention of branding and buying Nigeria. This is very important and it sets the pace for ease of business in Nigeria. Investment in Nigeria is very vital. You cannot decide to invest in Nigeria and think about other countries. It doesn't work that way. My dear beautiful sister Uwa said that if she wants to buy things or do her shopping, it is convenient to be part of Nigerian patronage. My dear beautiful sister Messi also said that we need to see to it that we put into consideration when it comes to entertainment and so on.
It's good business.
That is good business. My dear beautiful sister Owa said we should encourage Nigerian businesses to grow. Of course, I agree with you. Thank you so much, Daniel Ilo. All right, thank you, ladies. We had a great conversation. If you missed our quote for today, here it is again. It says, whenever you see a successful business, someone once made a very courageous decision. In Nigeria, that courage is double, triple, quadruple. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, interact with us further, drop all your comments, and like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Ciao.